All right, welcome back to the 5 Reasons Gambling Show. It is Wednesday, May 17th, game day for the Miami Heat. I know a lot of people are excited about that. Looking forward to that game tonight. Today I'm joined with a guest. I know you guys are probably tired of looking at my face all the time, so I got someone else to jump on with me. And I have Jeremy, Mr. Action Junkie on Twitter. You can follow him at Mr. Action Junkie 1. Jeremy, just tell us a little bit about yourself before we jump into this card tonight.
Well, thanks for having me, Sean. I've been a gambler for 20-some years. Love it. I'm not a good gambler. I'm just a recreational player, but that's kind of my background. Kind of a side gig. I do a podcast, or I used to do it every day. I've done 700-plus episodes. Love to talk sports. I'm not a big NBA guy. We'll talk about tonight, of course, but big Major League Baseball guy, college basketball guy, and love both college and the NFL.
Love it. So we're going to jump in and talk about Better Edge first. And Jeremy, I think from doing some research, you do some stuff with Better Edge, right?
Oh, yeah. I bet every single Major League Baseball game every single day on Better Edge. And
I love that.
I love the site.
Yeah, so we're going to talk Better Edge here in a second. It's where I do all my gambling. It's a great place. It's peer-to-peer market. It's a different way of betting. But once you start to learn how to use Better Edge, it is to your advantage. You can get better lines. You're going to save yourself money. There's no fees, no VIG. It's peer-to-peer betting. So you're betting with someone else. And Better Edge, it's just a great place. There's competitions. They're adding player props. They're adding different markets all the time. So definitely check that out. If you use betteredge.com/5RSN, you get yourself a $20 bonus. Anytime you can get $20 from Ethan Skolnick, I tell you to take advantage of it because he does not like to give up money very easily. So check that out, betteredge.com/5RSN. So we are going to jump in really quick and start with the NBA. And actually, on an unfortunate note, we're going to talk about a bad beat. Last night, if you watched that great Nuggets-Lakers game, and I gave out Nuggets -6. I got a good line on Better Edge. Some people got -6.5, and this makes that even, a worse beat, a badder beat, however you want to say it. Lakers led 2-0 in the game. The Nuggets got up as many as 21 points. That lead got cut down to 3 twice in the fourth quarter. And with 10.2 seconds left, with probably should have been the MVP, but a 2-time MVP going to the line, up 5 for 2 free throws. The MVP, former MVP, that's 6 for 6 on the night from the line. He bricks the first free throw, makes the second one. Lakers go down and miss. It's a 6-point win for the Nuggets, and not a good break for those Nuggets bettors. Did you have any action last night on that game, or did you watch that game, Jeremy?
Yeah, those are the games I love. To be quite honest, when I do Better Edge when it comes to the NBA, like I said, I'm not good at the NBA, so I play both sides. I had the Lakers +7. I had the Nuggets -6. So I'm hoping the game ends on one of those two numbers. So finish against 6, I was a happy camper. I won on the Lakers side, pushed on the Nuggets side, and that's the only way I can win on the NBA. Bet both sides and hope it middles.
That's when we start talking a little, we're not going to get too much into strategy, but I think that's a great discussion point when we talk about baseball and we talk about different ways that you can manipulate lines on Better Edge, that you can do it on other sports books, but it's, I think, a heck of a lot easier to do it on Better Edge. So we'll get to that later, but that's, you did not have a bad beat. You had almost a really, really good outcome.
Yeah, I was a happy camper. I had no complaints there. That's the NBA, though. The final 2 minutes, it always seems to come right down to the wire with the numbers.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things we've been doing with the NBA is we do almost daily competitions. Now, this one, it was a game one, so it went over the course of last night and into today. So there's still time to sign up. It's only $5 to jump in. You pick 15 sides, totals, or props. Obviously, you cannot go back and pick last night's game since that game is already over, but there are still more than enough to get you to 15 on tonight's NBA game between the Heat and the Celtics. Last night, just looking at who's joined so far, I had a pretty good night. I went 7-1-1, that one push being that damn Nuggets game. But I see a couple of people joined in today. We got somebody with 9 wins. Basically, all you have to do is beat me. So if you get right now 8 or more, you're going to win part of that pot. It's still an opportunity to join, $5. If you use that code 5RSN, you still got $15 left to spread out other places and just enter the competition. We're not going to break it down, prop by any means here. And Jeremy's only got a little bit of time with me today. But looking ahead, and obviously I have some bias being a Miami Heat fan, what do you think going into this game? And Jeremy, I know you've given us the context, even though you just showed us that you're almost super sharp on the NBA, middling that number last night. So no pressure. What do you see going into tonight with the Heat Celtics?
So here's my thing. If I had to play a side, you give me Jimmy Butler an 8.5, I'm taking it all day long. So that's where I'm going to go from a side standpoint if I need to.
Okay.
I think there'll be less offense than last night, but the Celtics are a fairly high scoring team. My lean there would be towards the over if I had to play it. Now on Better Edge, I'm playing Boston at a -7. I'm playing Miami at a +9. And you take that bet for me. You see my +9 right now, and you see my -7 there. I'm at the bookends of that, so I'm hoping for 7, 8, 9. 8, I'm golden, and like you said, no vig, so I'm not paying any juice on either side. So worst case scenario, it's a blowout one way or another. I push the wagers, but I'm hoping for 7, 8, 9 tonight, and I'll go towards the Heat. Let's lose by 8.
And, one of the things going through and kind of doing this content, and our channel is not a gambling channel by any means, and we're getting into the prize picks and things like that. But, to kind of explain what Jeremy's doing is he's got both sides. So he's got the 9 on the Celtics. He's got +7 on the Heat. If it falls on 8, he wins both because it's in the middle. It's the term that you use when you're talking gambling is a middle. If it hits on the 9 or the 7, he's going to push one and win the other. So basically he's putting himself in a perfect position to do this elsewhere. He would have to pay to buy those points off of let's say that I think the market's right now is 8.5. He would have to pay to get that number of a 9 or to get the -7. It's just advantageous and it's smart betting, to be very honest, just not to compliment our guest by any means, but like it is very intelligent on what he's doing. And when we did this back in the fall, talking about football lines, that's where it's really important. The difference between a 7.5 and a 7, a 3.5 and a 3 and whatnot. And when we get into baseball later, we'll talk a little bit about the strategy with that because you're a lot of times generally playing money lines on that side. Anything on the prop side of things, do you venture into that type of stuff with the NBA, or is that something you kind of steer clear of since it's not really your sport?
I stay clear of the NBA from a prop perspective. I'll follow some people, tail a couple people on their plays, but if I had to do anything, I'd probably go Jimmy Butler over on the points. I'm just all in on Butler this series, and we'll see how it goes.
I like that. We, our listeners definitely like to hear that when you talk about Jimmy going over. I'm going to run through what I did for the competition and just give you a little background on why. I'll also kind of fly through these. So I did do Heat +8. I just feel the number is getting inflated. Now, obviously, elsewhere on the marketplace, you can get 8.5. That seems to be the market line. It did dip down to 7.5 a little bit earlier today. I just feel like the Heat can keep this close. I really like, and I talked about this earlier in the week, the series price. Heat +2.5 games, you can get that -130. I just think that the Heat are going to be competitive, while the Celtics are certainly favored. I think the Heat have shown enough with their coaching, with their talent, to make this a competitive series. Props-wise, I have Al Horford over 6.5 rebounds. He led the Eastern Conference Finals last year in rebounds, averaging 10 rebounds a game against Miami. He went over in 4 out of 6. He had one that he had 7, so he was just under. I just think that his minutes are basically bulletproof. They might change things up with Robert Williams in the starting lineup if the Heat are able to exploit that. And I think Al Horford has a good opportunity tonight to get over that 6.5. Jason Tatum, obvious the head of the snake for the Celtics, over 9.5 rebounds and over 4.5 assists. He's had 15+ rebounds and assists in 10 out of 13 playoff games, including 5 straight. He's averaging 5.2 assists per game in the playoffs, and that's 10 out of 13 times he's done that also. So Jason Tatum, I think the Heat are going to bring a lot of pressure on him, try to make him give up the ball. That's going to lead to assist opportunities if his teammates can make shots. And then he does a good job on the glass, rebounding the ball. And if the Heat do not shoot the ball well, more opportunities for Tatum to get rebounds. Last two I have tonight, Max Strus over 11.5 points. He's went over that 5 straight, 14+ points in each of those 5 games. He's averaging over 12 field goal attempts during that stretch. He has to get shots up with Tyler Hero out, and he's went over that number in 2 out of 4 against Boston. And then finally, and this is hopefully good news to Heat fans, Bam Adebayo over 17.5 points. He's went over that number in 6 out of 11 playoff games, including 3 straight. And against Boston this season, he's went over 17.5 in 4 out of 4 with 30 in the last game, which was in January. He also went over in 3 out of 7 in last year's Eastern Conference Finals. Bam generally plays pretty well against the Celtics. So that's sort of our rundown of the Eastern Conference Finals tonight. Tips off at 8:30. It's on TNT, thankfully, so ESPN's not blaming stuff about humidity and weather and all other kinds of nonsense that's going on that has nothing to do with basketball, so we'll enjoy that. But we are going to jump in now to something that's going to be less comfortable for me and more comfortable for Jeremy. Talk a little bit about Major League Baseball. What do you got on the diamond tonight?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for all those prop selections. I just adjusted my competition there on Better Edge to mirror some of yours. So I switched for from some unders to some overs. Major League Baseball. So here's what I do. So on Better Edge, I just play the totals. Okay. But from my podcast perspective, and then what I do as a handicapper is I like to bet first fives. And my philosophy goes back to late 80s. Tom Kelly was the manager of the Minnesota Twins. His viewpoint was always momentum in baseball is only as good as your next day's starting pitcher. So the wager that I can control with my starting pitcher is the first 5 innings, because I've lost way too many wagers over the years based on bullpen situations. I had a wager I played the other night where I had an under 10 and they bring in a position player to give up the 11th run and cost me a wager. Nothing drives me crazier than that. So in Major League Baseball tonight, I'm actually going to play the Braves in the first 5 against the Rangers. Evaldi, your former guy from the Boston area out there east, he's pitched well for the Rangers last 3. He's been on fire, but Strider is going for the Braves. I like that situation, so I'm going to play the Braves in the first 5. Also, games that haven't had first pitch yet. Bassett is going tonight for the Blue Jays. The Yankee sticks are obviously hot right now. Bassett has pitched well in his last 2, but his splits against the Yankees are not the best. So I'm going the Yankees first 5 team total over 2.5 runs there. That's at like a plus 130 right now. So that's where I'm leaning. And then the final game that I have that hasn't gone off yet, I'm going to play the St. Louis Cardinals first 5 team total under 1.5 runs. It's Corbin Burns going for the Brewers. Excellent splits last year, 4-0 against the Cardinal Bats. St. Louis been heating up here a little bit offensively, but once again, Burns, elite pitcher, and I like to take good pitching over good hitting. So those are the plays that I have on games that haven't went off yet. I've been ice cold in baseball here a little bit. It goes up and down, but that's what I'm looking at in the card tonight.
Yeah, and I kind of approach it like it sounds like you approach basketball in that, first of all, I don't watch a lot of baseball, so I'm a lot of times tailing people that I feel like are good at what they do and look at the data and how they're performing. I did hit a first 5 total. I had the Pirates and Tigers under 4.5 earlier today. I think it was a 1 o'clock pitch. I have the Mariners tonight, which I believe is a 7 o'clock. Talking about baseball, when you talk about value in lines, we talked about in football, a great example is 7.5, 7, 3.5, 3 key numbers. When you're doing this in baseball, and I'll pull up on the marketplace here. We'll just grab a random game. Let's grab that Seattle game I mentioned earlier. When we go to winners, what are you looking for if you were targeting? And we'll just use this as a generic example. What are you are you targeting a certain number that you want? Like when you're laying out a 7 and a 9 tonight on the Heat game, what are you trying to do in the baseball market?
Baseball market with me doing the total, and let's pick on that Seattle-Boston game. There, I'm going to be basically sitting at a 9 on the over and a 10 on the under. And if I end up playing either one of them, I'm comfortable. And I'm guessing, I think my 9 was already taken. That should be my 10 still out there. And sometimes you're going to run the risk that somebody may not take the other side. But if I'm getting value by a half a run on either side of that line, I'm comfortable at the end of the day. The games I have a strong opinion on, I already have plays on. The rest of this is just action for me, where if I can get a half a run of value on a total, give it to me. Numbers are good. We know how many games come right down to the number, and it's baseball. A bloop and a blast changes a game in a hurry. A poor defensive play can change it in a hurry. I'm not gonna sweat too many things. You give me a half a run of value at a plus 100, even money. Yeah, I'll just take it.
And the great thing about Better Edge, and they keep adding features, which I think is cool with Greg and Tyler and those guys are doing, is if you're in a marketplace, we were looking at Seattle and Boston, I go on the 3 dots and I go to external prices, you can pull up right there on your more nationwide books and see, here's a 9, here's a 9.5. You can check the different juice. Now I can go back to the marketplace and I look at this and I'm like, all right, is this a good number? Is this a good number compared to what I'm seeing elsewhere? And that's what you're really targeting. when you're first coming on to Better Edge, and this is one of the things that I think is important is, and they have tutorial videos, which are great. You come in here and you click on, let's say you click on over 9.5. You can choose to set your own line. They call it a limit order. So if I wanted to make this not 9.5, but I want to make this 9, and I want to put it at, just making up a number, minus 130 at, let's say I want to throw $10 out there. I can do that. If I want to make it 9.5 and I want to make it completely the opposite way, I can do that. But the problem is it's not fulfilled yet. It's throwing it out there into the marketplace, and they're waiting for someone on the other side of it to take. If I want over 9.5, you need to have somebody that's going to take under 9.5. You can also go in and look at best available prices. And so, for example, I think you said that you're the person with the 10 here. If I want to take the other side of Jeremy's 10, which he has the under 10, if I want to take the over 10, I would come here and buy. And as soon as I click review, and this is a test account, so I can't do that. But if I bought it, then I would have the other side. He would have the under, I would have the over, and that bet is basically placed at that point. So when Jeremy talked about sometimes it doesn't get fulfilled, that's the unique thing about a peer-to-peer marketplace is that sometimes you're going to throw numbers out there, and you see this all the time. Some people will throw out tonight like, I want Boston minus 2.5 at like even money, which is completely ridiculous. And why would you ever take that number? But maybe somebody accidentally clicks on it or whatever they're trying to do. But that's the peer-to-peer marketplace, right? You have to be intelligent about what you're doing when you're shopping.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing when it comes to football, sometimes we live in line regret and we don't want to buy the half a point. So if there was a -3 on a Monday, and all of a sudden when you're betting on Saturday, it's at 3.5 and you're kicking yourself saying, boy, I would have played this game at 3. I'm not going to play it at 3.5. Just throw it out there on Better Edge at 3. And if it gets filled, you're happy. You got the original wager you wanted. You still got the vig you wanted. If it ends up being that it doesn't get filled, well, you weren't going to play it at 3.5 anyway. So you don't have to live in regret not getting the right number. Just post the number you want. If it gets filled, you're happy. If it doesn't, so be it. You got to be willing not to have the wager sometimes.
Correct. And, at the end of the day, if if it's, let's say it's +3 minus 125 elsewhere, and you get it at +3 minus 120 on Better Edge, it seems like such a small little amount, even if you're just betting $10 a game. But that adds up over the course of day after day after day. When you're saving 5 cents on your bets, that's important, especially when you're trying to make a winning, you're not just doing this for fun, you're trying to make money. You got to be able to find those edges where you can.
Yeah, and I don't have my exact numbers, but for instance, in college basketball, I bet 4 games per day on my podcast. And the juice I saved on Better Edge, just betting 4 college basketball games a day for the entire college basketball season, it ended up benefiting me by over 30 units. That money adds up in the end. That's my golf membership this year.
Yeah, that's unreal. That should be like on the Better Edge billboard somewhere that Greg's putting out there, because that's the truth though. It's not any BS. It's simply being intelligent about what you're doing and understanding how sports betting works. So I appreciate that insight. We appreciate your information on the Major League Baseball card. We'll definitely have you come back when we get to college football, college basketball, and all that stuff when we get to the fall. So thank you, Jeremy, for coming in. Make sure you guys check out his Twitter account. It's at Mr. Action Junkie 1. And if you want to plug anything else, Jeremy, before we get out of here, there's your Twitter account. Make sure you plug that for us.
Podcast is Play Me or Fade Me. I used to be daily. Right now I'm taking a little break here during the summer. But, check that out come football season without a doubt. And hopefully I get some winners going again in baseball. And you can see on there I'm a Twins fan. I got a Rays banner behind me. I'm kind of a mixed guy. I like multiple baseball teams.
I love it. Jeremy, thank you for coming on. Make sure you guys check out betteredge.com/5RSN. Get yourself $20 from 5 Reasons Sports. And obviously, go Heat tonight. Let's get a 1-0 victory in Boston. Take advantage of the series and start moving forward. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you much, Sean.